Wazzam. It's your boy Neguz and I'm reading at the I'm reading a book. Send this away. Oh wow, what's up with it? I've been ducking my book that I'm supposed to be reading online. I said online, but I've been ducking my book that I'm supposed to be reading. I've been reading The Miseducation of the Negro, and I'm on chapter 4. Let y'all see it. Let's see. I don't know, right? What chapter that is? Y'all see it? Failure to learn to make a living. Ooh, sound like a good one. We're gonna get ahead and get into it. The failure to learn and make a living. The greatest indictment of such education as Negroes have received, however, is that they have thereby learned little as to be making a living. The first essential in civilization, rural Negroes have always known something about agriculture, and in a country where land is abundant, they have been able to make some sort of living on the soil, even though they have not always employed significant methods of farming, an industry where the competition is keener. However, what the Negro has learned in school has had little bearing on the situation, as pointed out above. In business, the role of education as a factor in the uplift of a Negro has been still less significant. The Negroes of today are unable to employ one another, and the whites are inclined to call on Negroes only when workers of their own race have been taken care of. I have to take a picture of every so I can, For the solution of the problem, the miseducation Negro has offered to remedy whatever the Negroes are now being taught does not bring their minds into harmony with life as they must face it. When a Negro student works his way through college by polishing shoes, he does not think of making a special study of the science underlying the production and distribution. It be like that sometimes. Sometimes I be knowing the word, but it take me a little time to get it together. You know, underlining the production and distribution of leather and its products that he may someday figure in the spear. The Negro boy sent to college by mechanicals seldom dreams of learning mechanical engineering to build upon the foundation his father has laid, that in years to come he may figure as a contractor or a consulting engineer. The Negro girl who goes to college hardly wants to return to her mother if she is a washerwoman. But the girl she come back with significant knowledge of physics and chemistry and business administration to use her mother's work as a nucleus for a modern steam laundry. A white professor of the university recently. I gotta find a way to do that better. Recently resigned his position to become rich by running a laundry for Negroes in a southern city. A Negro college instructor would have considered such a suggestion an insult. The so-called education of Negro college students leads them to throw away opportunities which they have had to go in quest of those which they do not find. In the case of the white youth in this country, they can choose their courses more at random and still succeed because of numerous opportunities offered by their people. But even they show so much more wisdom than do Negroes. For example, a year or two after the author left Harvard, he found out West soulmate who was studying wool. How did you happen to go into the sort of thing? Go into this sort of thing, the author inquired his people. The former replied he had some experience in wool, and in the college he prepared for the work of the contrary. The author studied Aristotle, Plato, Marcilago of Padun, and Pacasius, Robertius, Rad Radbertus when he was in college. His friend who studied Wu, however, screenshot, I gotta, studied Wu, however, is now independently rich and has significant leisure to enjoy the cultural side of the which has knowledge of this science, underlying the business deployed, but the author has to make his living by begging for a struggling cause. An observer recently saw at the market near his office a striking example of inefficient inefficiency of our system. He often goes over there at noon to buy a bit of fruit and to talk with a young woman who successfully conducts a fruit stand there in cooperation with her mother. Some years ago, he tried to teach her in high school, but her memory was poor and she could not understand what he was trying to do. She stayed a few weeks smiling at others who told and finally left to assist her mother in business. She learned from her mother, however, how to make a living and be happy. This observer was reminded of this young woman soon thereafter when they came to visit him and a friend who succeeded in mastering everything taught in high school. What's up with it? I appreciate y'all for coming through. You know what I'm saying? I'm just reading The Miseducation of the Negro. Taught in high school at the time and later distinguished himself in college. This highly educated man brought with him a complaint against life, having had extreme difficulties in finding the opportunity to do what he is trained to do. He has thought several times of committing suicides. He had thought several times of committing suicide. A friend encouraged this disponent man to go ahead and do this. Disponent. Like, I gotta see what that word means. Disponent, I think. The sooner the better. The food and air which he is now consuming may then go to keep alive someone who is in touch with life and able to grapple with its problems. The man has been educated away from the fruit stand. The friend had been trying to convince this misfit of the unusual opportunity for the Negro in business, but he reprimanded his adversary for urging him to take up such a task when most Negroes thus engaged have been failures. If we invest our money in some enterprise of our own, said he, those in charge were misused or misappropriated. I have learned from my studies of economics that we had just as well kept on throwing it away upon investigation. However, it was discovered that the complaint and most others like him have never invested anything in any of the Negro enterprises, although they have tried to make a living by exploiting them, but they feel a bit guilty of this accounting, and when they have some apparent grounding of fault finding, they try to satisfy their conscience with all but condemns them by their suicidal course of getting all they can out of the race while giving nothing back to it. Gossiping and mongering, scandal mongering Negroes, of course, come to their assistance. Miseducated by the oppressor of the race, such Negroes expect the Negro businessman to fail anyway. They seize then upon unfavorable reports. Exaggerate the situation, and circulate falsehoods throughout the world to their own undoing. You read such headlines as Greatest Negro Business Fails, Negroes Banks Robbed by Its Officers, and in the twilight of Negro businesses. The miseducated Negro then stand by saying, I told you so. Negroes cannot run business. My professor pointed that out to me years ago when I studied economics in college, and I never intended to put away any of my money in my Negro enterprise. Yet, investigation shows that in proportion to the amount of capital invested, Negro enterprises manifest about as much strength as business of others similarly situated. Negroes businessmen have made Nigger businessmen have made mistakes and they are still making them. But the weak link in the chain is that they are not properly supported and do not always grow strong enough to pass through a crisis. Hmm. The Negro businessman then has not failed so much as he has failed to get support of Negroes who should be mentally developed significantly to see the wisdom of supporting such enterprises. Now that the highly educated Negro who have studied economics at Harvard, Yale, Columbia, and Chicago would say that the Negro cannot succeed in business because the professors who have never had a moment experience in their sphere have written accordingly to the whites they say have the control of the natural resource and so monopolized the production of raw material as they eliminated the competition in the Negro. Apparently this is true. All things being equal from the point of view of the oppressor, he sees that the Negro cannot meet the test. The impatient, highly educated Negro therefore say that since under the present system of capitalism, the Negro has no chance to toil upward to the economy sphere, the only hope for bettering the condition and the respect and through socialism, the overthrow of the present economic regime, and the inartery of the popular control of resources and agencies which are now being operated for personal gain. This thought is gaining ground among Negroes in this country, and it is rapidly sweeping them into ranks of what are commonly known as communists. There can be no objection to this radical change. It is brings with some unselfish genius to do the task better than it is now being done under the present regime of competition. Russia so far has failed to do well with this particular thing under a parliament proletarian dictatorship in an agricultural country. Proletarian dictatorship in an agricultural country, but whether this millennium comes or not, the capitalism system is so strongly entrenched at present that the radical must struggle many years to overthrow it. And if the Negro has to wait until the time to try to improve his condition, he will starve out so soon that he will not be here to tell the story. The Negro, therefore, like all other oppressed people, must learn to do this so-called impossible. The uneducated Negro businessman, however, is actual at work doing the very thing which the miseducated Negro has been taught to believe cannot be done. This much handicap, this much handicapped Negro businessman could do better if he had some assistant, but other schools are turning out men who do as much of to impede the process of the Negro in business, and they do not help him. The trouble that they do not think of themselves. If the highly educated Negro would forget most of the untried theories taught him in school, if he could see through the propaganda which has been instilled into the mind under the pretext of education, he will fall in love with his own people and begin to sacrifice for the uplift. If the highly educated Negro would do these things, he would solve some of the problems now confronting the race. During recent years, we have heard much of the education and business administration departments in Negro colleges, but if they be judged by the products turned out by these departments, they are not worth a contentional. Continental. The teachers in this field are not prepared to do the work, and the trustees of our institutions are spending their time with trifles instead of addressing themselves to study of a situation which threatens the Negro with economy extermination. Bro, bro, bro. Recently, the author saw the need for a change of attitude when a young woman came almost directly to his office after her graduation from a business school to seek employment. After hearing her story, he finally told her that he would give her a trial at $15 a week. $15 a week, she cried. I cannot live on that, sir. I do not see why you cannot. He replied, you have lived for some time already, and you said that you have never had permanent employment and you have none at all. But a woman has to dress and to pay board, she said, and how can she do it on such a pittance? The amount of offering was small, but it was a great deal more than she is worth at present. In fact, during the first 6 or 9 months of her connection with some enterprise, it will be of more service to her than she will be to the firm. Coming out of school without experience, she will be a drag on a business until she learns to discharge some defined function in it. Damn. Instead of requiring the firm to pay her, she should pay it for training her. Negro's business today then finds the miseducated employees its heaviest burden. Thousands of graduates of white business schools spend years in establishments and undergoing apprenticeships without pay and rejoice to have the opportunity thus to learn how to do things. The schools in which Negroes are now being trained, however, do not give our young people this point of view. They may occasionally learn the elements of stenographic and accounting, but they do not learn how to apply what they have studied. The training which they undergo gives a false conception of life when they believe that the business world owes them a position of leadership. They have an idea of business training that we used to have of teaching. When it was taught that we could teach anything we have studied, graduates of our business schools lack the courage to throw themselves upon their resources and work for a commission. The large majority of them want to be sure of receiving a certain amount at the end of the week or month. They do not seem to realize that the great strides in business have been made by paying men according to what they do. Persons with such false impressions of life are not good representatives of school or business administration. Not long ago, an firm in Washington, D.C. appealed to the graduates of several of our colleges and offered them an inviting proposition on the commission bias, but only five of the hundreds appealed to respond, and only two of the five gave certification. Another would have succeeded, but he was not honest in handling the money because he had learned to prolong the treasurer of the athletic organization while in college. All of the others, however, were anxious to serve somewhere in the office for a small wage a week. Recently, one of the large insurance companies selected for special training in his line college. 15 college graduates of our accredited institution and financial their special training in insurance. Wait, I gotta go get my clothes out of the wash machine. And we on page. I'll be back. No, I got to 20 minutes. So, an accredited institution in finance their special training in insurance. Only one of the number, however, rendered efficient service in this field. They're all abundant the effort after a few days, the trial and accepted work in hotels and with the Pullman Company. They went into teaching or something else with a fixed stipend until they could enter upon the practice of professions. The thought of immediate reward, short-sightedness, short-sightedness, and the lack of vision and courage to struggle and win the fight made them afraid to begin with. They are unwilling to throw aside the coats and collars and do the groundwork of Negro business and thus make opportunities of themselves instead of begging others for a chance. The educated Negro, from the point of view of commerce and industry, then shows no mental power to understand the situation which he finds. He has apparently read his race of the spirit and with the expectation of what the illiterate Negroes can do blindly, the field is left wide open for foreign exploitation. Foreigners see the opportunities as soon as they reach our shores and begin to manufacture and sell the Negroes, especially such things as caps, neckties, and house dresses, which may be produced at the small cost under ordinary circumstances. The main problem with the Negro in this field, however, is salesmanship. That is where he is weak. It is unfortunate, too, that the educated Negro does not understand or is unwilling to start small enterprises, which make the larger ones possible. If he cannot proceed according to the methods of gigantic corporations about which he reads in books, he does not know how to take the whole of things and organize the communities of the poor along lines of small businesses. Such training is necessary for the large majority of Negroes conducting enterprises have not learned business methods and do not understand the possibilities of the field in which they operate. Most of them in the beginning had no experience and started off with such knowledge as they could acquire by observing someone's business from the outside. One of them, for example, he waited on the white business club and passing the members a box of cigars and bringing a pitcher of water. When they began to discuss business, however, he had to leave the room. About the only time could see them in action was when he were to play, indulging in extravaganza, which the Negro learned to take up, therefore he could afford them. Man, this shit is like, bro, like, let me go get my clothes, bro. This shit, yeah, bro, this shit, boy. It's like I'm living in this shit. Like everything, like I know, like, boy, what? Boy, my mind is out of the boom. Telling you, I ain't. Man teaching us all the knowledge. That boy teaching us all the Like all y'all do is read. I'm glad I started reading, boy. I feel like I gotta read some more. Like she been following me around. I feel like I gotta read some more. It's time to read some more. Y'all coming for the reading? We doing read. We reading, y'all. We reading, y'all. We reading the miseducation of the Negro. That's what we reading. We're on page 70. Negro businesses, thus handicapped, therefore have not developed stability and the capacity for growth, practicing all worthwhile Negro businesses, which were flourishing in the 1900s, are not existing today. How did this happen? Well, Negro businessmen have too much to do. They have not time to read a business lecture and study the market upon which they depend, and they may not be significant trained to do these things. They are usually operating in the dark or by the hit or miss method. Damn. They cannot secure intelligent guidance because the schools are not turning out men properly trained to take up Negro business as it is developed and make it what it ought to be rather than find fault with it. Too often, when the founder dies, then the business dies with him, or it goes to pieces such soon after he passes away, for nobody has come into significant close contact with him to learn the secrets of his success in spite of his handicaps. The business among Negroes too continue indi- individualistic in the spite of individualistic in spite of advice to the contrary, the founder does not take kindly to the cooperative plan, and such business educated as we now give the youth does not make their suggestions to this effect convincing. If the founder happens to be unusually successful too, the business may outgrow his knowledge and become too unwily in his hands, may go to pieces by error of judgment, or because of the mismanagement, it may go into the hands of whites are usually called in at the last hour to do what they call refinances, but what really means they're actually taking over the business from the Negroes. The Negroes then finally withdraw their patronage, patronage because they realize that it is no longer an enterprise of the race and the chapter is closed. All of the affairs of the Negro business, however, are not due to troubles from without. Often the Negro businessman lacks common sense. The Negro in business, for example, too easily becomes a social lion. He sometimes plunges into this leadership in local matters. He becomes popular in restriction circles, and men of less magnetism grow jealous of his inroads. He learns how richer men of other races waste money. He builds a finer home than anybody else in the community. And in his social program, he does not provide for much contact with the very people upon whom he must depend on patronage. He must patronage. So the Patreon is patronage. He has the finest car, the most expensive dress, the best summer home, and so far outdistance his competitors in society that they often set to work in childlike fashion to bring him down to their level. The man ain't saying nothing new. He ain't saying nothing new. We all been through it. We all going through it. Like, that's crazy. They like, so they don't teach the nigga enough to keep the business going. They don't teach him enough to teach the next to keep his business going. And they teach the people that don't know, they teach them to downplay it. That's just how life is. They say everybody a crab in the bucket, or you gotta move out to the city, the people from where you from. Cause that's what we was taught in school. That's what we grew up. We grew up ripping and bringing people down. The people that do it, we gonna tear them down until they get successful. Then when they get successful, we gonna root for them. And then when they falling down, we gonna tear them down so they don't be able to get back up, and they don't be able to pass to nobody. And it's closed, and we gonna give it to the white man. They gonna close. So far as, like, for example, I'm still moving on. I'm getting better, but for example, God forbid, the rappers, they be passing away. They did their business. They ain't teach them enough to make sure they can tell their parents or get their kids, or they can get it. And then what happened? They die, and then the people take their money that they can find, because you got money out here for you. You just gotta go find it, and you gotta talk to the right people to go find your money, and they gonna find his money, and they got all his name, and that's crazy, and it's canceled next. And we can't, and that's basically what he's saying. The miseducation, we was not taught how to make a living. We wasn't. We was just, that's crazy. And then the business we do, that's crazy. That's crazy. But it's gonna always be crazy. It's gonna always be a mind blowing. It's gonna always blow your mind. It's gonna always, like every time you read a chapter of this book, like every time I read a chapter of this book, I be like, my mind just be like, like I supposed to have been read this, like something you supposed to read in high school. Like you supposed to start reading this in middle school. Like you supposed to start getting this knowledge to make you form your mind. Like, it ain't never too late, cause that's what they say. It ain't never too late. It's only on you. Like, it can be better. You can change your life. You can even start in the day. Cause I ain't had no plan on reading, but I knew I had to read. I knew I wanted to read. I knew I wanted to be my new content so I can get better. And I'm like, man, I'm washing clothes, but I was gonna just sit here and stroll the internet and be on the internet and just stroll. I got better with my reading. Got better just now. I learned more words, and I just got a better understanding of what's going on. Like, that's all be going on, just getting a better understanding of what's going on around you, how to operate through the world, and just knowing what to accept and what not to accept and what they doing. And like, if he was writing this in 1920, if this book came out, let's see, and with these, I'm gonna get better, because I'm gonna start writing down the words. Like, I'm just in my car reading. I feel comfortable now. And I think this something I'm about to start doing. Like, I think I might just start reading in my car, like 20-minute reads, like 15, ain't nothing. But page 74. The next time we come, the next chapter we gonna read is The Educated Negro Leaves the Masses. Damn. I feel like he wrote this book for me. He did write this book for me. This like a treasure. Yeah, this is a treasure. Damn, he wrote this book for me. See, they'll put it in your face, but what we was taught and how we was taught that we wasn't. You hear me? He talking about me. Like, he wrote this book about me. Like, I turned into that. When I got older, like when I started getting to college, and I got to that mind. This is what brought me down, and it's all part of the journey and a part of life. When I got to that mind, I was like, man, fuck this shit, man. They playing all day. Like, it don't make no sense. It ain't like what to like. If you do get up, they gonna bring you down. If like this, how I was thinking, but it's like, no, you gotta fight through that, cause that's what they won't do you. For real, for real. That's what they won't do you. They don't want you to fight through this. They want you to get beat down, and if if you can't beat yourself, we're gonna get the other people to beat you. You're gonna get your own people to beat you. It don't hurt. It don't hurt. It hurt when your own people do it to you. It don't hurt when nigga do you. Like when your own people do it to you, that when it hurt. It hurt when other people do it, but when your own people do it, like god damn, like I ain't know it to be you. Like damn, I ain't know it to be you. It feel like they brought you to the room into like that's crazy. But you know, I appreciate what I'm doing. You know, got me a good little reading. Uh-huh. Start my day. Get on. I still gotta go work out. So, you know, after I go work out, I'm gonna get a little better. But this gonna be my mind for the day. Like this is what my mind is. This is what my mind at today. Like, man, it's just page 74. One of the most striking evidence of the failure of higher educated among Negroes is their estrangement from the masses, the very people upon whom they must eventually count for carrying out a program of progress. Of this, the Negro Church supplied the most striking illustration. The large majority of Negro communities still belong to these churches, but the more educated the Negro undergo, the least comfort they can seem to find in these evangelical groups. Evangelical 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 groups. These churches do not measure up to the standards set by the university preachers of the northern centuries of learning. Most Negroes returning as finished products from which institutions then are forever lost to the popular Negro churches. The under-church of this class do not become members of which congregations, and those who have thus connected themselves remain chiefly for political or personal reasons and tend to become communicants, commutants, in the name only. Communicants. The fuck? Communicants? Fuck, I guess. I'm sorry for the vulgarity. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, that's the last book. That's the book we're gonna read. We got chapter the keys. Yeah. Deserted and explored graph and libertines. The highly educated Negro have turned away from the people in the churches. And the gap between the messages are the talented to the rapidly wildly on. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for coming through. You know, for all y'all who came through, read the book with me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to get better. That's it. Getting better, and I hope y'all listen to the words I had said. And yeah, and y'all gonna see my progress. I'm getting better from this book and just from life. Period. I gotta start like, cause he really talk about me. I really feel like I feel a certain way. I don't feel a certain way to you be like, you know where I'm from. You feel play, you just feel play. I just feel like he only wrote this book, and this book was meant for me to read so I can understand me better and to get better. Like I can, like now I feel like I can like do it. Like at first I just felt like it was no purpose, it was no point to do it. And now I feel like I can do it. Like all I gotta do is read and just do it. Like and just be me, and it's just life, man. whatever come from it, and you just gotta grow from it. That's how I feel. Like, long as I'm growing from it, that's the only thing that matters. Lord, please, I grow with Lord. All right, but yeah, y'all, you know, let me go check on my clothes, see what's in.